Hello, everybody. Welcome to MovieFlex Double Features. I'm one of your hosts, Estebs, here as always with my other host, Matt, aka Posting Pro. Matt, how's it going?
Yo, it's going pretty good. How are y'all?
Well, I'm pretty excited because, as you know, for the first time ever on the podcast, we actually have a guest. Uh, he's someone who he's from the group chat, obviously. We know him like we all go back actually, like before we were movie posting, we all like came together because we had like similar political attitudes, I'll just say. But yeah, everyone help me welcome our first guest, Thought Haver, aka Chase. How's it going?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on.
Cool. Yeah, so yeah, like I said, I'm excited because this is the first week that neither me or Matt picked the movies. You came to us because like we put out the open invitation, and you were like, "Hey, I have this great like uh double feature I want to get into." I had never heard of either of these movies. What about you, Matt?
No, I haven't either. So I was very excited to watch both of these this week.
Yeah, I was super stoked. So, like, I have like a million things to say, especially about one of them. But yeah, like I'll let you start. Like, just if you want to like tell us like why you chose these movies and like kind of your history with them, or
Sure, yeah. The main reason I chose these movies is, to be honest, I was trying to stump you guys. I wanted to get a couple movies that maybe you guys hadn't heard of, because I know you guys have seen a lot of stuff. But also, they're two very different movies, but they have a common theme, which is they're both politically leftist. Z obviously a lot more than Society is overtly, but we can get into that later.
oh yeah, that's what kind of I was hinting at the beginning, where I was like I don't know how to say it, like because we all do know each other from like before the group chat, even like before we were talking about movies. We were like part of this like wayward group of people who were like like kind of disillusioned with Bernie, but we also didn't like go down the rabbit hole of following some like crazy Australian conservative person or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're just kind of like, we don't like, it all kind of sucks, so we're just gonna watch movies now and not give a fuck about any of it because it's miserable, and they're gonna fuck with you anyway. So might as well just like enjoy movies. And yeah, no, you definitely stumped us. Like I said, I had never heard of these, but I was fucking like, I watched Society first, and after I saw it, I was fucking stoked because I was like, yeah, man. Like, I kind of like, I kind of had a hint of like where it was going, and I was fucking stoked. So with that, why don't we get into them? Start with first 1989's Society, directed by Brian Yuzna. It's basically a body horror about class. It stars Billy Warlock from the first two seasons of Baywatch, and his best friend. Like, I was like, man, that guy looks really familiar. And it's actually the guy who played Bill in the Bill and Ted TV show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I was like, fuck, because I was like, man, he looks this, but yeah, he wears a wig or something. But yeah, that's who it was, and I was like, fuck, yeah, I remember that guy for sure.
Okay, well, I actually have a couple of cast things. So
Okay,
Billy
cool.
Warlock, first thing, uh, Billy Warlock's dad, Dick Warlock, was
No,
a stuntman, a famous stuntman. There's a very famous picture of Dick Warlock, very famous in my mind. I don't know if it's actually famous, but with Kurt Russell, he was Kurt Russell's stunt double for Escape from New York, and there's a very famous picture of Dick Warlock and Kurt Russell. They're both in their costumes for the film. Obviously, Dick Warlock, hilarious name. So that's one thing.
That's an
yeah.
awesome like wrestler name, like.
Yeah, no.
It's also a very fitting name for a stuntman for Kurt Russell. I feel like.
Yeah, he actually looks a lot like Kurt Russell, like in the picture. I don't know. Maybe I could send it to the Discord later.
Yeah,
But
for sure. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, if you want to like intro us with a little bit of like why you picked this movie in particular, and like just your general thoughts, like, and then we can get with Matt's review, and then I'll chime in. Like I said, I'll just say it up front. Like, I fucking love this movie. Like, I had a lot of fun with it. It's obviously like very tongue in cheek. It's very winking. Like, so there were certain things that I kind of like didn't. There are like flaws, I guess, that I didn't really care as much about because I was just like having fun with it, and especially toward the end when it gets like really surreal and like ridiculous. It's just like by that point, I guess you've either bought in or you haven't, right?
Right, yeah. Well, okay, so Society is a movie that I first saw a couple of years ago, uh, in the absolute like height of the pandemic.
Hmm.
It was a movie. I was in this group chat, the first like Twitter group chat I was ever in, where it was like during the pandemic, and everybody in the group chat, we would watch movies together on stream on like Twitch. It was just like 10 of us. And so Society was one of the movies that we watched, and it was completely batshit insane, uh, from beginning to end. But also it had this like weird political message that
Mm.
I thought was kind of interesting. And it's like it wasn't shoehorned in, but it wasn't coherent either, which I
Right.
thought was really interesting. And it's like compared to Z, our other film, which we'll get into, the the coherency and like the kind of professionalism difference is so vast between those two movies.
Yeah.
I think Society is kind of like a good example of like Hollywood leftism, where it's like this. They kind of have like an idea of like of leftism, but they're not quite there. Like they seem to only know like kind of like mantras and stuff like that.
Like eat the
Whereas
rich, literally. Like
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And that's the other theme. I don't think I brought this up earlier, but between the two movies, the other theme is conspiracies.
Mm.
So the um, Society is a movie about a grand conspiracy. It's kind of like if everyone in Eyes Wide Shut was like a dumb freak,
Hmm.
and it's I think I
Dumb, like
have.
yeah, dumb eyes wide shut is like a good way to describe this movie. Because like also Billy Warlock, who plays a guy named Billy, very stupid, very stupid. Like he's like I don't know. He's also being gaslit, right? I don't know. I thought it
Yeah,
was yeah.
yeah.
It's funny. Like everyone makes him feel like the dumbest guy, but yeah, no, I like it felt like the most coherent like theme was just like that rich people are sickos, which I 100% agree with. And let me just say up front, like all this stuff that they show rich people doing, I 100% feel like this is real. And if anything, like they do even like more fucked up shit in real life, like rich people. And yeah, so but yeah, Matt, I'm dying to know what you thought of it actually.
Oh, what? So Chase, what did you actually before like you get into my thoughts? What did you actually like think of the movie when you saw it?
Oh, yeah. No, when I first saw it, I was very high, but at the time when I
Yeah.
when I first watched it. So, but beyond that, I was impressed with like the visual effects, especially considering that the budget was kind of, does not seem to be very high on it.
Yeah.
I learned later that if you guys have seen Reanimator,
Hmm.
the old, yeah, it's Brian Yuzna produced Reanimator, and so this movie only got made because he had a two-picture deal with Society and Reanimator 2,
Yeah, I
Huh.
apparently.
did see that because I saw that he produced Reanimator and then he was trying to get the follow up made and he couldn't find a director, so that's why he decided to direct.
Right, yeah. But
Which is
anyway,
insane to think about because it's like, how are there not a million people who want to direct back then? I guess it was the '80s, so it was different. Because
yeah,
now
I
it'd be
don't
like
know.
it'd be so easy to find a director.
I mean, this Society is like or like, I don't know, those like late night, like kind of trashy movies like Society or Reanimator. I
Hmm.
feel like a lot of directors maybe think that, oh, that'll ruin my career or something. And they might be right. But anyway,
You may be, but
I did like Society when I first watched it. Rewatching it, it's the thing about it's just so strange. Like I can't tell if it's good or bad. It's like either it's so incompetently made that it verges on being artful, or it's so artistic that it verges on being terrible, and I'm
Mhm.
not sure which.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I think like I remember in college specifically we had this senior seminar and it was a film class that I took and it was essentially about horror films and it's funny because these like types of horror films that were like considered schlock, they're kind of like B horror movies, I guess, the ones that like play in drive-throughs. These types of films are kind of like rediscovered like years later, and then people will like start writing like these expansive essays on them and start theorizing about them and everything. Yeah, I think Society for me um was definitely I definitely had a had a pretty good time on this film. It's like weird and freaky, and it's a pretty slow burn, like a lot of those old horror movies are, especially like the schlocky ones. It's got, leans more into the effects, more so than like any coherent or super coherent narrative. Things just kind of happen, which is pretty great for the time period. Yeah, I liked it a lot. When I watched it, I was entertained. There were parts where I was like, okay, something needs to happen.
Yeah.
It's a lot of conspiracy build up, where it's kind of, asking the audience like, oh, is it real or is it in his mind or what? And it's like, of course it's real. Like, it's a horror movie. Like, yeah, I agree, Steven. Like the rich people being freakier in real life. I think the creepiest part in the movie was just the scene where all the rich people, like, they're not even like eating the poor people yet, and they're all like sweating and like
Mm.
laughing and clapping and stuff, and that's like how rich people act.
Yeah, like all the
Like,
orgies and shit. Like, I literally dated a girl who, like, her dad was like really rich. He was a millionaire, and she like went to orgies at a very young age, and like, so like I'm like, I never fucked with any of that shit. That obviously I was just laughing because I'm a child. But yeah, so I totally believe this shit is real. Like, I was like, yo, is this based on a true story or something? I mean, obviously I know they don't actually like they're not like they don't actually like suck your skin out or whatever. But
and shout out to like it has like one of the hottest like horror movie 80s sex scenes I've seen. I
mm,
was like, hell yeah. I think the chick's name is something de Vasquez or something like that. She's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I was like,
she was one of Hugh Hefner's girls, I believe.
oh, nice.
yeah, I was like, damn. Also, this movie, like, you know, obviously we tell people that you should watch the movies before listening because, like, we'd spoil them or, the hell out of them. This movie ends like a lot of, like, these old horror movies ends where it's just like, oh, that's the end? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, they literally ride off. Like, they jump in the car and drive off, and that's like credits roll. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
I guess that was the ending.
I read an IMDb trivia, and it makes so much sense that the director came up with the effects and like it came up with the effects first and then came up with the plot later, and
Yeah.
it makes so much sense.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like, because you're right, Chase, with regards to like the themes and everything. There's a lot of times where you go, okay, are these like incidental or are these like, it's very much like you said, kind of like filmmakers and Hollywood's way of like doing like a leftist type politics where it's like, um, it's like, oh yeah, like there's two distinct, like or one's not an alien race, but it's a something different race than the human race, and they literally eat the poor people. It's like, okay, it's pretty baby's first leftism. But I was gonna do
Yeah.
the really bad joke, which this movie's probably horrifying to the Joker because it's based on Society. There we go.
Oh yeah. Twisted, man.
Yeah,
Uh, no, I thought like yeah, there were parts of where I was like, man, is this like a so good it's bad movie? But I think ultimately like it had the right balance of like self self awareness and like also like there were some funny lines that like I was just like, man, like that's like I think this would be a really fun movie to watch like at a midnight showing with like a huge crowd.
Oh
for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Well,
Like the
it's like if you weren't sure if the movie was taking itself seriously, by the time the "fuck you butthead" scene comes along,
yeah.
you know.
No, yeah,
Yeah,
and the way that line, I wrote that down where he's like, "Fuck you, butthead." In the first actor's line where he's like, "You make waves, you're gonna drown." I think the cop tells him that, I love that line. I loved.
Dude, I have the best quote from the movie. I forgot to say this. It was from Clarissa. That's her name. How do you
Yeah,
like your tea? Cream, sugar, or would you like me to pee in it?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I wrote that down too, dude. I was like, what the fuck?
And then he
There,
says, "You're a
yeah.
class act, Clarissa."
There are just so many baffling moments in the movie. I feel like the number one issue with society is the acting, and
Yeah,
or
Yeah,
actually maybe the
definitely.
script too. But the acting is so bad at some points that it's like baffling. Like I think the lead is actually okay. Billy Warlock is like fine.
yeah. He was like, I like vivid
I
like
actually
when
liked
I.
his friend better. I feel like. I feel like his friend was the better actor out of the two of them.
Mhm. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that's why he worked more. But I think like because I sort of remember Baywatch, and he was only on the first two seasons, and so yeah, he kind of fizzled out after that. But yeah, I do agree that the acting is probably the weakest part of this. Although there's one scene where like the sex scene, like whenever Billy nuts, like I 100% think that like the direction he got was like, all right, now when you come, this nut is gonna kill you. Because when he nuts, he's literally like, oh, like it looks like he's dying. Thought that was really funny. And my favorite bit of dialogue, other than the peas in his cup, was when it's toward the end when like I think it was like the cop or something was like, why can't you just be normal? Why can't you just enjoy being rich or something? And he's like, I guess you're naturally fucked up, which I just thought that was a cool
yeah.
line because I can use that a lot. But my favorite bit, like, I don't know if this was like on purpose or what, but like the fact that they posit therapists as like the source of evil, like because the therapist is a fucking evil piece of shit in this movie, and he gaslights him, and I'm like, yeah, no, I totally agree. That's what therapy is like. Like,
Totally.
He turns into like the Joker at the end too, like because they can like the
mm,
whole point of like society, like high society or whatever, is they can like they're like aliens or something, monsters, and they can like morph and change their bodies any which way they want to. They can like absorb mass or something, like they literally eat people. But he's running, chasing him around. He's got the Joker smile on, and I was like, damn, all right.
Yeah,
he does,
after
yeah.
after he gets out from the hospital, after the main character does, they told him to act like he went insane or something, and but it doesn't
Yeah.
come across as like a mental break. It comes across like just very weird, and
Yeah,
it
because
just doesn't make any sense.
I couldn't figure that part out because I was like, is he supposed to be drugged or like, are the drugs gonna wear off? Because he mentioned something like they set you up. Like he just pulls his IV out, which I've done I did that one time. I was in the emergency room and they wanted to give me an MRI and I didn't want it, so I like just yanked the IV out and like was like wandering around the hall just like bleeding everywhere. And
No.
Nice. That's some Sigma shit right there.
Yeah.
yeah, no, they were like, "Excuse me, sir," and I was like, "Ah, man, I'm sorry. Where's the exit? Can I leave?"
Yeah, you're
'Cause
like, I got a
I
knife
had a
in you.
migraine. I'd had a migraine, and then like they put me in this room with all these like really like dying people, and it just like hit me. I was like, "Ah, man, I was just fucking hungover. Like I'm fine. I don't need this MRI. It's gonna cost me thousands of dollars," and no one was there to like assist me, so I just took matters into my own hands and
Yeah, dude, it's society, man. It's society.
yeah, I mean, basically the movie is saying like rich people are depraved. I wanted to get your thoughts on like that the metaphor of like rich people as aliens, because like they say they're not aliens, but like
Yeah,
that is like a running thing throughout the movie of like die alien scum or whatever. They kind of I like bits like that where like they set it up with the kid calling him an alien like earlier. I thought there were like nice things like that.
yeah. Very like they live kind of in that regard, right? Where it's like they're aliens and they need to die, but they're not aliens. They kind of say that they're like they don't ever say what they are. They're just like we've been here as long as you guys have, and it's
Yeah,
like okay, I don't know what that means, but yeah, and it's kind of it doesn't matter. They're just monsters. They're rich people, so obviously they're monsters, and that's kind of
Yeah,
like the whole point is like they're kind of this amorphous blob, right? There's a lot of like class stuff. Like they do kind of talk about, like even when, like I said in that funny thing where he's like, "Oh, you're a class act,"
yeah,
Clarissa. There's a lot of like lines kind of like that, like the coming out or whatever. they talk about, oh yeah, like I've been dating for years and I'm doing this weird like ritual thing, I'm coming out, and so there's a lot of kind of allusions to that, but yeah, I mean, none of them, they were kind of more funny than, that's what you're saying, Chase, about like taking itself seriously. I don't think it was. I think it's supposed to be schlocky, but then again, you can never tell, with these types of things, because it's like, is it just bad? Is it like intentionally bad and kind of funny and entertaining, or is it like we're trying to take ourselves seriously, but it just turns out bad and entertaining and everything?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, there there are some interesting aspects of the movie. Like, I just have some notes that I wrote down. One of them is that Billy, or do they call him Bill or Billy? I can't remember.
It's both. I think
Yeah, they
he's technically billed as Bill, but they call him Billy in the movie because I
Okay.
think they just forgot and called him by his real name.
Yeah, I mean the the kind of villains in the movie are the family, right? So
Mm.
Billy's family are these rich, bourgeois, like not they're not even just rich, they're like high society, like
Mhm.
old-fashioned rich, like old money. I mean, there's like debutante balls happening, and local luminaries like the judge who sounds exactly like Richard Nixon comes over.
Mhm.
Um and but Billy doesn't feel like he's part of the family. He feels like an alien. So it's my kind of reading of the movie was that Bill is like a working class kid
Mhm.
born into a bourgeois family. Where it's like, imagine that being working class was like genetic, which in this movie it is.
Yeah.
He's like a working class kid that's part of this bourgeois family, and he senses that something is wrong, and he senses that he doesn't belong, and that these people around him want to hurt him, and he turns out to be right.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I think at one point the therapist tells him at the end, or he's like, "You're just a different class of person" or something. Like they make the distinctions.
Well, they say that he was stolen, right? Like, so he's actually not their kid. They just raised him up, and they were like, "You'll never be one of us," essentially. So like he was, they did steal him from his parents or whoever his parents are, something, and they just like, he was their son, like under a false pretense. Essentially, he was their son in so much as they raised him, but he wasn't like biologically their son.
Yeah, it's really not clear, like why him, like why raise him for 18 years or however
Well,
long.
yeah,
they talk about like they're essentially grooming him. I guess like that's the whole. They're grooming him to be eaten.
Yeah.
They like to
rich
play
people
this
are
like
groomers too. That's true. That's
they
a
like
real
to
life
play.
thing.
Yeah, they essentially, from my understanding of it, they like to play like a sadistic game where they like fuck with them, and because they're like inferior, essentially they think they're inferior, so they like fuck with them, and then they go out and eat them, and then it seems like they do that, and then also they will lure people in through like sex, which is like pretty evil and rich thing to do, is to like frame people through sex and stuff. So
It gets pretty
Yeah.
grimy at the end too. Like
Yeah,
they,
yeah,
although
it's like
there is no blood in the final
mm,
scene, because they wanted to avoid censorship from the MPAA. So even though it's disgusting,
right.
there's no blood.
yeah, he like reaches up that guy's butt and rips his head off, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, he
Like
Yeah,
so,
turns them inside out.
they do that a couple of times where like somebody sticks their hand so far up someone's ass that it comes out their face. Which like the whole time I'm just thinking like like what are the physics on that? Because like
well, the Billy's the first one to do it as a human apparently, because they say he's like, you and me one on one, right? Like I'm a working class Protestant all American boy, like I can take you, and then the rich guy's like, you you guys have never won a fight against us, right? There's like a part of that, and then he like beats him up with the help of Clarissa or whatever, and then his buddy, and he fought like he's getting beat up, like beat the shit out of, and then finally he reaches his hand up the guy's ass and turns him inside out.
Turd Ferguson, his arch nemesis.
They're all like, "What the fuck?" Like when he does it, they're all like, "Damn, this low class dude did it," and they let him walk away.
Yeah, yeah, that's the best part. They just like everybody gets out. Like those people, I don't how have they been running that secret society? Their security is terrible.
Yeah, it's very loosey goosey, and like what was up with her mom? Clarissa's mom. She was just like, I thought we were gonna get like a reveal at some point.
She
She
was,
was the big lady who just like fucked people up.
yeah, she was like crazy or something. I
I was
don't know
just
how
like,
to. She was like catatonic because she would like grab the guy's hair to try and eat him, but he was like, "Leave me alone," and like he was like, "You'll be my date," and brings her into the house and then lets her loose on the guy. So, and then Clarissa's got like she's like in love with uh Billy, so she kind of has like a differing thought process too from the rest of them. The rest of them are just like sick little freaks or something. They all have like orgies with each other. I think Billy like even tells his therapist, which is a crazy thing to tell your therapist. He's like, you're supposed to be able to tell them everything, but you need to hold some stuff back. And he's like, yeah, I think they're like, my entire family's just a bunch of incest freaks. It's like, damn. Okay.
Incest and psychosis, yeah.
Yeah. It's like
uh,
crazy. He's like, everyone's crazy and we're all incest. And he's like, oh, I'm just kidding. He's like, no, you actually believe that. Like,
can we say how like it's also kind of crazy that like Billy like played the working class guy, because like I don't know, Billy does not look like working class to me at all. Like I guess he kind of sort of has like an Elizabeth Warren haircut, but like other than that, like I don't really
Well,
like.
he's working class because he isn't blonde, I think is the
Oh
idea.
shit, that's it. Yeah, okay.
yeah, they're all like weird blonde people. But then, like, I mean, their other families aren't, right?
No,
They're
that's
all,
the thing, is during the shunting scene at the end, when all of the secret society is there, all of the extras they have in that scene look like fucking panhandlers. And it's like these
yeah,
are supposed to be the cream of the crop, richest people,
Yeah,
and it's like a bunch of freaks.
they didn't look very like racially pure, I guess is the word. Ted
yeah,
Ferguson, like it's just, yeah, it's a weird amalgamation of people. And then the therapist who um he was in an episode of the Next Generation, and he was in the movie Bachelor Party with Tom Hanks.
Oh.
That's where I like recognize him from. But yeah, yeah, there were parts in the movie where I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. Like maybe it was just an '80s thing or something, but I'm like, yeah, this doesn't look like a rich person, you know?
yeah. It's kind of like I don't know if you guys have ever seen. I think it's called Metropolitan. It's Whit
Mm.
Stillman's movie. It's kind of like that. Like all the extras are none of them really look super rich, but they're all supposed to be super rich. So
Yeah, I mean
Oh,
it's pretty clear that a lot of corners were cut with this movie. So but it's like the last scene was the most important. So I think they should have,
mhm.
really gone to central casting and be like, all right, we need like the richest looking people. We need good wardrobe, you know.
Yeah.
But instead, it seems like they spent all the money on like every teenager in this movie has like the sickest car.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, I wrote that down. His girlfriend, who Billy's girlfriend, who looks like Kristen Wiig, kind of, like, she drives a Camaro, which is pretty badass.
Yeah, Bill
yeah. He
has
drives
like
like
the
a
cool
Jeep.
Jeep.
Yeah, they all do have pretty sick cars. I will say that. What do you guys think of like if you were to rate the movie? What would you guys rate it out of 5 stars? Little letterbox rating here.
Hmm. Well, I guess I don't know. I'm usually not like a rater of movies,
Yeah,
but if I
me
had
either.
to, I would say 3 stars, I guess.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at, Chase. I'm
Yeah,
at 3 stars.
I would say like 3.5, just because like I like body horror stuff too. Like, um, I don't know, the effects, like they did seem to like spend most of the money on that, and I think it paid off. Like it was very gross and very wet, and like, I wasn't really questioning the reality at the end. Like I thought it was cool and funny, but like I wasn't like, because they kind of set it up okay. But yeah, I'm basically the same, like 3.5. I
Yeah.
just
But
I
the
always
sweaty.
I always rate things like a half star more, just because I'm usually stoned, so like to me everything's a little fun. Nothing's boring.
Yeah,
Definitely not this movie.
Oh no, yeah, and that's the thing too. It did move, like you said. There were parts where it did get like very kind of like draggy or whatever, and like I said, there's stuff because like with the mom, like she's like kind of fucked up. She's not there, like she's catatonic. She doesn't speak. She has like super strength or whatever.
And she eats
Um,
hair and spits out
yeah,
hairballs.
well, that's what's interesting to me is because they show her spitting up the hairball, and then they show the judge doing the same thing during the last scene,
The
and so
shunting.
like yeah, the shunting.
Right.
So I thought somehow that was gonna tie in, and that like that's why I was
Well,
expecting some
Well,
sort of
there's a gag at
reveal.
the very end with the cop when she tries to eat the cop's hair, but it turns out to be a toupee.
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
yeah, and then she does that, but then also while his friend Billy's friend is driving her, like I guess I'll take it. She keeps grabbing his head
yeah.
hair. He's like, stop, stop. So that's what I'm saying. I think she's like, mentally challenged or whatever in the movie, and she just kind of knows that shunting is a thing and you can do it. So I'm assuming like she has to be led to do that or something, and she's kind of like confused
But
most
she
of the
also
time.
turns tricks for money, which is disgusting.
Yeah, and who is her clients? Like, I don't understand that.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Because again, this is I was like way into the mom, and I was like, man, there's gonna be some like lost like twist and stuff. And I
Oh,
probably
they
already know
make
this.
an Oedipus joke too, by the way. That was pretty good. I like that where the mom's like only hands or something. She's like hands and like a head, and then where her like vagina is supposed to be, it's the daughter, and she's just like, if you ever wanted to like indulge in your Oedipal fantasies, now's your chance or
Oh
whatever.
yeah.
They're like doing their best bits. Like none of them are like actively trying to grab Billy. Like they're not. They're all like having an orgy, and then the dad is right. He's the butthead, and then they're all just trying their best bits out on Billy. Like even the therapist guy is like, "I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna," like with a smile or whatever. None of
Yeah,
them
Yeah,
they're
are
just
seriously
trying to
trying.
act as gross as possible.
They're all like just trying to do their comedy bits with their body horror.
yeah. The
And
butthead stuff was really fun. Like I said, this all was great to me. Like this was my favorite shit. And oh, I thought it was funny that like during the shunting, like whenever the judge or whatever reemerged, like everything was really wet and gooey, but he still had his cigar.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
And it was still lit, and I was like, that was funny to me. That was a
he says,
funny
"I'm
joke.
getting too old for this" or something.
He literally does the fucking Danny Glover line, dude. He does. He
Yeah.
literally says, "I'm getting too old for this shit."
Yeah, that
Yeah.
guy carried the entire shunting scene.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
It's just fun to watch that guy get covered in goop, you know?
Yeah, and then before the goop, he's like, all of them are so sweaty and disgusting. Like all the rich people. That's
yeah,
what I'm saying is like the body horror is just rich people being rich people, sweaty, fat cat, disgusting, chomping on cigars and talking about classes and stuff.
Well, I just thought of something is that this movie actually might similar to Ring story structure of the Star Wars prequels. This movie might have some kind of unique story structure because I think the opening credits which come at the beginning of the movie are the shunting scene. Do you
Yeah.
oh
remember that?
yeah, yeah, I do. Yeah, it was like a flash forward.
And then so it's like at the beginning and then the end, and then the first scene of the movie is what happens right at the end when he like wakes up and he's having a nightmare and he has the knife, and then it happens at the end. So that's kind of
Yeah,
Yeah.
neat.
yeah. Like I said, they did like set up stuff and pay it off, and I thought like that was kind of cool. Like it makes me lean toward like they knew what they were doing, and like I said, there are so many funny lines that I thought like, oh, they knew. Like I said, if I was in a theater full of people at like Draft House or something on a Saturday night, like that would like these lines would kill, you know?
Yeah, this
Oh,
this movie is
absolutely.
definitely meant to be like a double feature, go out to your drive-in type film. Definitely.
Yeah, but yeah, like like a 3.5 stars for me, but a very enjoyable 3.5 stars. Like you said, final thoughts, I guess, if you guys want to say anything. Like I said, I thought it was enjoyable. Like I didn't feel like I wasted my time. It was very like you said, baby's first leftism. Like it's like, oh yeah, there's like a good heart, but at the same time, I don't know. The director or the writer could be like a brilliant leftist mind who just is like, yeah, this is what I can get away with or something. You know what I mean? Like, um, and it like so it had like I said, not very like thought out maybe or um like complicated in its thinking or messaging, but I think it had a good heart generally. It generally knew who the good and bad guys are in the world, and I it'd be great like I think the idea of a body horror movie about class is like a brilliant idea, and I think someone could do it now way better. You know,
Oh,
like
for sure, yeah.
I'd love to imagine like the Ari Aster version of this, or like yeah.
Yeah, I think just final thoughts for me. Uh, 3 stars. It was good. Like I said, it was slow at some points. Uh, it is, it's not making like a super, there's no like this is how we solve everything or like, you know, um, any super deep critiques or anything like that. It's just kind of like I said, baby's first leftism. So yeah, 3 stars. It was entertaining. It was good. I don't know if I'd watch it again. Maybe if I'm drunk or something, and I'm like, "Yo, you guys got to see this crazy movie or something."
That's
Along
your
those
real
lines.
rating, right? Because like you don't really rewatch movies. So if you say you watch a movie again, that's like the best rating you can give it.
No, I rewatch movies. It's just like that. It's just like I don't have any super desire to rewatch this movie.
I,
So
I would rewatch it again if I could do it with a group.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, like going
Yeah.
out or
Yeah.
something. If
Yeah.
someone's like we're doing a double feature, Society and something else. Yeah, that makes. I'd probably do that actually.
We're all gonna get stoned and drunk in my house. I'd put it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, this for my final thoughts, this movie's good, I think, but only in context. You want to watch this with a group of people, and you want to make fun of it while you're watching it. That's in my opinion, the proper way to watch this movie.
Yeah.
If you just watch it, like it's Bridge on the River Kwai or something, you're gonna have a bad time just watching it by yourself.
Sipping your
Yeah.
brandy with a cigar in your hand.
Yeah, yeah.
Writing notes.
Oh yeah. All right, everybody. Welcome back to the second half of the show. Next up, we got 1969 Z, an Algerian French film directed by Costa-Gravas. It stars one of my all-time favorite guys, Jean-Louis Trintignant. Most people will know him as the guy who played the protagonist in The Conformist. He was also in an Eric Romer movie called My Night at Mons, which is a personal favorite. He was in The Three Colors Red. He was in the movie Amour. Awesome, cool guy. To fictionalize the account, sort of basically about like the political assassination of a Greek politician in the 1960s, based on a novel. I'm gonna throw it over to Chase. I want to see what you have to say about this movie. I really liked it. Like on a serious level, I thought it was really good. Like, but yeah, I'll talk about it later. But yeah, what do you have to say?
Sure, yeah. I think so. I have a quote here from Roger Ebert from his review of the film.
Mm.
I think he can say it better than I can, so I'm just going to read it. There are some things that refuse to be covered over. It would be more convenient, yes, and easier for everyone if the official version were believed. But then the facts begin to trip over one another, and contradictions emerge, and a quote accident is revealed as a crime. The film Z is about one of these things, about the assassination 6 years ago of a leader of the political opposition in Greece. It is also about all the rest of them. For Americans, it is about the My Lai massacre, the killing of Fred Hampton, the Bay of Pigs. It is no more about Greece than the Battle of Algiers was about Algeria. It is a film of our time. It is about how even moral victories are corrupted. It will make you weep and will make you angry. It will tear your guts out. That was Roger Ebert, December 30th, 1969. This was Roger Ebert's favorite movie of 1969. It was the first film, and to this day, I think one of the only films to be nominated by the Academy for Best Film and Best Foreign Language Film. According to IMDb trivia, the nominations for this movie came from the studio relentlessly doing like a blitz campaign to all the Academy voters. This movie is fantastic. It's almost perfect, I would say.
Yeah.
It's got so much heart. It's got a great political message. It's so well made. The script is perfect. The characters are perfect. I mean, as a film just on its own, it's fantastic. As a political, like as the political message it tries to put out, is great in my opinion. And then it also is super effective in putting that out. If you go into the knowing nothing, by the end of the film, you'll have a pretty decent knowledge of, this whole assassination and the fallout of the assassination, all the blowback. I mean, it's just fantastic.
Yeah, I kind of undersold it. It's a 5-star movie for me. I just checked. That's what I gave it on Letterboxd. Matt, what did you think?
Yeah, so last week you said it was our Siskel and Ebert. This week is definitely our Siskel and Ebert.
Okay.
I would just like to quote.
We got Siskel, Ebert, and Roper here, though. So
Yeah,
Who's Roper?
he was the guy who, after Siskel died,
Oh,
it was
geez.
it was Ebert and Roper for a long time, and then because I used to watch this shit as a kid, and then after Ebert died, I think it was like Roper and A.O. Scott maybe for a while.
That's
yeah.
just sad.
Love that show. But yeah, Matt, what you're saying?
well, to quote one of all of our guys, Zizek, right? And I would do the voice, but I'm terrible at doing the voice. I like it more as a theoretical tool. I fast forward through the boring parts, is what he says. Yeah, as a movie.
Did he say that about this movie?
No.
Oh, okay.
What
Sorry.
did he say that about?
He was in the Criterion closet, and he was talking about he was just picking out movies. He said something like, I forgot one of them. I don't even remember which one. He's like, it's the perfect French film. It's about incest and like something.
He's admitted to like not watching the movies. He's like, I've seen. Like,
yeah, he's a big film guy, but he says that he likes a more theoretical tool. I agree with him with regards to like this movie. I don't know what he thinks. He probably loves this movie. He probably has seen it and like seen it in full a couple of times. But like for me, I kind of took that part. I like the message. I don't like the movie. I didn't like
interesting.
Yeah, I didn't. I liked what the movie was trying to say. I thought I didn't like the execution at all.
Wow. Yeah, no,
I was very, which is like crazy to say because I'm usually more in the heady, kind of like I like things that speak to me on a personal level because like this movie would on paper speak to me on a personal level. I just didn't really care. I was like, okay, I get it, type thing. That's what I was saying. It's definitely because you said 5 stars. This is our Siskel and Ebert. I would give the movie like 2.5, 3 stars because I like what the movie's trying to say, but I don't like the execution at all. I thought it was like incredibly boring. It lost me at parts.
Man. Okay.
I really liked the movie, like till like I liked what I was watching, like on screen for like when he dies, the campaigner dies and everything. Yeah, and then it's like it slowed so much to the end. It was just a crawl, and I was like, okay, I just want this movie to end.
Oh man, no! I thought it was the opposite. I thought Jean-Louis was the perfect guy to play the investigator, the guy who uncovers it. Yeah, I thought he was amazing, and I thought like at the end especially like it kind of like picks up pace because you got that like dragnet music while all the generals are coming in. I totally disagree. And I'm gonna let Chase talk next, but I just want to say this first because I had the exact opposite reaction because I thought, okay, it's like this is a French film, Algerian French production, whatever. Like it's from the 60s, it's a Criterion movie. This is gonna be like an art movie. And then when I looked it up, this was actually like a very, very like mainstream movie for the time. Like it was the 14th highest grossing film of 1969. And obviously, when we're talking about a movie like this, the box office is not the point. But I'm just saying this to like illustrate like how mainstream it was and how different things were. Because for reference, the 14th highest grossing film of 2021 was A Quiet Place 2. So it'd be like, imagine instead of making A Quiet Place 2, we just made like a movie about like the Chilean assassinations in the 60s or something,
Yeah,
the Chilean coup, right?
it's
And
definitely a different time, obviously.
yeah,
And
and
that's kind of like just a factual statement. But I mean, like in terms of film going and what movies could be made and what movies resonate and everything too. Because imagine like this movie coming out today, there'd be no reviewer under the sun that would cover it. You know what I mean?
I thought the there's a scene like at the Act One break where like the guy's chasing the guy who hit the deputy, and I thought like that chase scene and the like fight on the back of the car or truck or whatever, I thought that was really exciting. I thought that was like very cool action like
Yeah,
beat.
and I love that scene because the character, the guy who's chasing uh, the assassins in their little truck, that guy. The first time I watched it, I assumed he was some kind of political attaché. But there's a scene right before the speech where that guy who is chasing them, the deputy asks, "Who are you?" And the guy says, "I'm a mason." So he doesn't even know him. He's just some worker,
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah,
and he just sees what goes down. He sees the guy hit him, and he just instantly springs into action and just
yeah,
chases him down. And he's ends up being responsible for the guys being arrested and stuff. So he's just this like hero, just a working class dude who just happens to be in the right place at the right time, and have the like the will and the beliefs to change everything.
yeah. I thought that sequence was just like very well put together. Like there were a lot of cool like Michael Mann shots and stuff, and it kind of picked up. And yeah, I was like way excited because it was way more like thrilling and like kind of an actiony movie than I thought it was gonna be, which was a good surprise.
Yeah,
Because like I said,
yeah.
I was expecting it to be like just like a straight ahead like art film, and like yeah, it was pretty. It was a pretty like mainstream movie for the time, and yeah, I
Yep.
love like yeah, I obviously love the message and stuff, and it's about there was in 1963 it was Grigoris Lambrakis. He was like a democratically elected Greek politician, and then like they murdered him. So Yves Montand plays like they just call him the deputy, and he's basically like um that guy like he's and like for a modern day like it's basically Bernie, right? It's like what if Bernie was assassinated.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
They're very careful to establish that the deputy is not a communist, but he's
Yeah.
clearly left wing. Um,
The people that
just
murder him
circling.
are like they're called Croc or something. It's like
Le Coq.
Yeah,
Christian something. I
Christian
don't
royalists, something. Yeah,
the crown or some stupid fascist shit like that.
yeah. But
Yeah, they straight
I
up
just
have
wanted
I
to
don't mean
mention
stupid
real
as in a
quick.
concept. I mean stupid as in like the political ideology.
Yeah, real quick. I wanted to mention just because I thought this was interesting. The Ebert quote that I read. So when he says this movie is about the My Lai massacre, the killing of Fred Hampton, and the Bay of Pigs, JFK aficionados might recognize that Ebert seems to be referencing the JFK assassination and implying that it was some kind of fascist plot.
Yeah.
Because why would he say the Bay
Yeah.
of Pigs there?
Of
Yeah,
So
no,
course.
shout
if
out Ebert.
Of
yeah,
course.
I mean, I guess if you like
The
consider
ghost.
George H.W. Bush a fascist,
I
If
mean,
you consider the CIA a fascist organization, then yeah.
yeah. No,
yeah,
I love I love the idea. When I saw the plot of like, oh, this is a movie about a political assassination. Like I was like, fuck yeah, it was really cool. I liked it. Like it's obviously very old fashioned because like the way they do it, like it's not even a drive by or anything. They don't shoot them.
They club them.
Yeah, they're like, well, I don't even know what to call it. It's like a moped truck or something.
yeah. It's like
It's
a
a
three-wheel truck.
it's
Yeah,
they call it tripod or something. Yeah, it's a delivery truck that one of the guys owns. He's still paying it off. That's like a big reason he does it. He gets paid obviously to do it. So he's like, I'm trying to pay off this. He's like they're both like the two guys are like workers too, but they're like fascists, right? With regards to like their ideology. They don't explicitly say they're fascist. They're just obviously they are fascist. So they like
Yeah. Well, they're both members of that Croc thing.
yeah. So they're like uber because like they're nationalists. They're royalists. They're like uber Christian, right? And
Reactionaries. Yeah.
Yeah, and the one guy, like I said, he's in it not even for. He doesn't even care about the politics of it. He's like, this will literally like help me pay off my delivery truck. And
Yeah, and the other guy wants to be famous. The kind of balding guy. They're what are their names? Like Yago and Vago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
there's
Yago's
actually
the driver.
an interesting scene where the balding guy, after he like goes to the newspaper and he asks the guy not to put his name in the newspaper, he goes into like a little diner and he walks up to the pinball machine where like a young guy is playing pinball and he starts like
Mm.
kind of trying to hold the guy's hand, and it's kind of implied that the character is gay, which I thought was very weird. I don't know if that was like old fashioned like European homophobia, or if that
Yeah.
if the actual assassin was gay. I don't know.
Was also controlling, right? Because the guy's playing pinball and he keeps touching his hand, like pressing the pinball bumper. Because that's what the guy's doing. He's playing pinball, so he's pressing the side bumper, and he keeps touching his hand to press the bumper.
Did I completely misread that and it's not a gay thing? That's what I thought. I don't know why.
No, I don't think you misread that, but I thought like when I saw it because he's playing pinball, right, and he's like pressing the bumper, and then every once in a while, because like the guy's looking at him and he keeps like pressing his hand to press the bumper, so he's like controlling him essentially.
Huh. I don't know. Well, he definitely holds his hand. But anyway,
He holds it
moving
way too long,
on.
like because later on he like while he's pressing the guy's hand, he'll just like he keeps it there for a little too long. So
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It was like very subtle, but I just had that kind of. I was like, why else would they put this in here? You know?
yeah.
Yeah, I definitely
But
think it was gay coded.
Well, what's his
yeah,
relationship to the newspaper guy? You know what I mean? That's definitely something there.
yeah. We have to do an inquisition of this movie and expose all the gay characters.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, it could just be there being like, like that like classic leftist homophobia of like, oh yeah, the right's all a bunch of freaking closet cases. They all
I
want to
mean,
fuck each other. That's why they want to blow up the world
it's like
because they don't.
Sallow,
Because
right?
yeah. Oh, actually, Salo. I mean, I obviously thought of that with the previous movie, Society. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
it's pretty clear.
a bunch of
I didn't want to
freaks.
bring it up
Yeah.
because I know you don't like that movie because Pasolini's your boy, and that's like the
It's
one
not that I don't like that.
Pasolina.
Wait, it's not that I don't like that movie. It's that it's not my favorite Pasolini. It's the one that's everybody's.
Exactly. You hate the fact that that's the one that everyone always brings
Yeah,
up. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But I think in this case, it was very like appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, before we move on from this thing, I just the whole gay thing with the Vago character. It reminded me so much of, if you guys have seen JFK, of David Ferry,
Oh yeah.
where it's like this guy who's involved with an assassination of a politician who's like a weird kind of like semi-closeted gay guy.
Like a feet Southern man.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. For some reason, that just gave me like a real David Ferry vibe.
I definitely think that it was just like leftists being like, oh, again, like that, like all they're all secretly gay or whatever. It's like owning them. It's kind of
Yeah, I
like
don't know.
Trump Putin gay stuff. Yeah, it's like
Yeah, maybe it was. It was just like one of
that.
those liberal things where they called Trump like a Putin's cock holster.
Yeah.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Um, one of my favorite. Oh, I love the anti disclaimer at the beginning where they're like, any like similarities between these people and real people are intentional.
Yeah, any similarity to real persons and events is not coincidental. All
Yeah,
caps, it is intentional. I love that.
And then they go into the general doing like the mildew metaphor, and mildew is like a metaphor for leftist thought, basically, and it's infected the crops of the good Christian right wing conservative, and that's the thing too, because like we say that this is based on like a Greek politician, but obviously everyone's speaking in French, and they shot it in Algeria, and they're not really ever like specific about what country it is. Like it doesn't really matter. I
Yeah.
think
yeah, because they're like a monarchist culture, but like it seems like the military's kind of in charge, obviously,
it
right?
seems like France, but like 100 years ago or something.
Yeah, it definitely seems more. I thought it was France, but then I was like, I don't know where this place is. Like you said, it doesn't matter really.
Mm.
The message more matters than the setting.
One of my favorite lines was always blame the Americans, even if you're wrong.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
that was
Well,
pretty good.
speaking of the movie's setting, since like the film was kind of trying to depict like the whole Greek thing, and the director Costa-Gavras was Greek. Uh, the film has like some details that hint at the story's origin. Obviously, if you were around in that time, you would have been able to understand what the movie
Uh-huh.
was about without the hints. But for us now, uh, for example, there's a lot of Greek music in the movie.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Irene
yeah.
Papas, who plays the deputy's widow, she's was a Greek actress, and so she doesn't speak a lot in the movie because she doesn't really speak French.
Mm.
Mm,
And then there's I read that there were Greek newspapers and beer and all sorts of props around the set.
gotcha. Yeah, I had no clue about any of that.
Yeah,
I don't know that, like, because you said, like, before we started, you said don't look up anything about the movie. So I did that, like, I came in both movies completely blind. And I was like, is this a true story, or is this like based off of something? And I had no clue, so I had like no context for any of the
Oh,
stuff
yeah, that's
happening.
my bad. I meant watch Society without any preparation. I feel like Z is
Gotcha.
probably a movie where preparation is a good thing.
Yeah, so I didn't really know because I was kind of like, okay, this is, and then obviously it's pretty straightforward. It's not like complex or anything. You can kind of pick up on what's happening. I mean, there's very explicit, like the government's like, these guys are bad, and like we shouldn't kill this guy because he'll become a martyr. And you know how these people love their martyrs and everything, and like they refuse to, the ostensibly leftist like political party, kind of like the students and all their people are like trying to revolt back, and then they're kind of trying to keep them calm. They're trying to be non-violent, and like the violent perpetrators are definitely the more right wing elements, in the
yeah,
in the
and
film. And they make a very clear point because I mean all the right wing people are carrying clubs and will clobber people and beat people up in the movie, and then like I don't think the left wing people even defend themselves. They kind of just like get hit, which is like, damn, that sucks.
yeah, I was gonna say like speaking of JFK, Oliver Stone said this was like the most fucking like influential movie on him.
Oh
Oh
wow,
wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
that's incredible. I love
Um,
JFK.
there's something in the very beginning that I thought was very French, which is whenever like so they're doing like they're the French Bernie basically they're like trying to do like a his big thing is anti nuclear
Yeah,
or like
disarmament. They want
disarmament, yeah.
disarmament.
So there's like he's giving a speech. There's like fascist, but there's also what I call le mec de Bernie. It's or le mec du député. It's the Bernie. That's like the closest you could get to saying like deputy bros, in French.
I was gonna say, Steven, how do you say? Because I know you know a little bit of French. How do you say
Yeah.
harass women online? I'm sure that guy would have.
Oh, like je suis français. That's how you say I harass women online. No, no, yeah, I called it like I said. I wrote down le mec du député because I was like, oh, these are just like Bernie Bros or whatever. And I know like that Bernie Bros aren't a real thing. We all hate that term, for obvious reasons. But yeah, no, I thought it was really funny that so at one point, when they're like, he had the deputy, he has these like signs, peace signs are everywhere, and they like rip one of his signs, and like it reveals like a Clint Eastwood, like the good, the bad, the ugly poster or something. I was like, oh, that's very French, like symbolism, like visual, like
Right.
tearing
Yeah.
down peace and to show the cowboy,
The symbol
like
of American violence.
yeah, yeah, le violence des Américains, yeah, like that was very, very French, like visual symbolism or whatever.
Totally. Yeah.
And then, of course, like they're very explicit about the anti-leftist gangs of, like we said, fascists. They're definitely like government supported, and they're like, I mean, this idea that like the police would somehow, collaborate with fascists, and that like they're somehow in cahoots, like that's from 1969, right? Like that's not a new. That's That's definitely doesn't apply to today, you know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no way.
That's from like 1,000 years ago, dude. The '60s.
Yeah, there's
I
no way that high ranking government officials, one might even say the top of the food chain with regards to government, is supporting
you might
these
even say that
fascistic
you might even
tendencies.
say that the police state somehow manufactured all of this
Oh,
violence.
what I really liked about the movie, one of the lines that recurred, and I was like, oh, that's a good callback, was the he's like in the beginning, he's talking about how he's like these elements, like we shouldn't antagonize them. There's natural antibodies, right, to like
Yeah.
prevent it. And then later on, Yago says like we're the antibodies, like, right? Like
Yeah,
he uses that exact phrase, like we're the antibodies to combat these communists or whatever. Because like you said, they don't explicitly, like in the movie, the group, the leftist group and the right leaning group never really say what they are. It's just that like they kind of say what they are through their political like ideologies, right? Like one's obviously kind of like, anti-imperialism, like pro worker, like less global influence on, the whatever. And then the other one's like, oh, we should. It's weird because they're like, we should have global influence like the American influence, but we should also like push out all people who aren't like us. And we're Christians, and like we're the last bastion for Western Christian civilization advancing, essentially. So they
yeah.
never explicitly say like, oh, we're communists, we're fascists or whatever. But like the other party, like the right leaning party, it calls them all communists. He's like, those guys are commies, essentially.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the news, I mean, NATO is like big in this movie. I mean, at the rally, it's all about dismantling different NATO bases that are in Europe.
Yeah.
Um, so, still relevant today. Why does NATO exist? But I wanted to mention something. I think one of the most effective kind of devices that this movie uses is the magistrate character played by
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Jean-Louis Trintignant, I think is what you said earlier.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, the guy with the cool glasses. He is shown kind of when he first takes the investigation. Uh, he is not, one of these like leftists. He's not, a radical. He's shown to be completely apolitical, pretty much.
His
He just
dad,
wants to do his job, and
his dad is like a military cop, basically.
Yeah.
yeah. But and so he has a lot to lose. But throughout the movie, you can see he doesn't want to turn this into an assassination investigation. He doesn't want to believe, but the evidence is it just keeps mounting so much and so much
Overwhelming,
that
yeah.
he has to believe it. And so he believes that his government like can handle, the truth, and it can't, and he's
Yeah.
just I forget at the end of the movie whether it says that he was killed or deported or what, but
Yeah, he was killed. He got shunned or whatever. He got killed in a car accident, quote unquote. Right.
yeah,
Don't they
yeah.
all?
Well, and
Well,
then
that
I
one
love
guy
that.
got killed. They said that the police were interviewing him, and he ran away. He jumped out of an 11-story window or something.
Yeah, yeah, I love that guy. He was such a great little like leftist archetype where it's like the one guy in the room who's like, "Fuck it, we got to revolt. Like violence, nonviolence can't be the
It's
answer
literally-
forever."
Yeah, no, I love that. They like that comes up a couple of times. The woman, like you said, the Greek female actress, whoever, who she's in like the deputy's like inner circle. She brings it up too. She brings up like being anti-violence is bullshit. Basically, at some point, she's like, you keep on with your anti-violence.
Well, the movie kind of determines that anti-violence is bullshit because
Yeah, yeah,
there's no like they say they hate, like they love turning people into martyrs, but like they don't revolt because of their non-violence pact, and it literally gets them nowhere. Like at the end of the movie, with the credits rolling, and you read what happens to all the people, you go, oh, they haven't achieved literally anything. They just all died for their beliefs. You
yeah.
know?
Like it makes the like whole like, hey, just get out and vote. Like it makes that seem extremely what it is, like not depressing and useless. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But my favorite part of this movie by far is the conspiracy aspect. I think that this movie, better than any other movie I've ever seen, demonstrates like how a conspiracy can work. Because this is a real life conspiracy that happened, and it step by step procedurally goes through like it's almost surgical in explaining like exactly how a conspiracy like this can exist because people don't want to believe that there can be conspiracies like this, but there are. They happen every
yeah,
day. People in power, they aren't always honest about what they're doing, and this movie I think is such a like interesting useful tool for kind of decoding all of these different right-wing conspiracies that have taken place. You can apply the formula of this movie to like so many different assassinations and it always makes sense. Like the the military, the police, the thugs, they're all essentially the same force is what this movie is trying to say. And you can apply that to, JFK, the anti-Castro Cubans, and all these different forces in the 1960s. You can
oh
apply this
yeah,
to Gladio. I mean, it's such like a universal kind of thing.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
think
Like,
this movie is like unique in how it kind of explains and shows that.
yeah, it could be like Chile, it could be the Congo. Like, my favorite part of the whole conspiracy thing is like when it basically comes down to Jean Louis and his like superior, and his superior is just like charge one person or two people for manslaughter or something, and you know give these people an give the generals an internal investigation, and then charge the other side, the leftists for inciting the violence or whatever, right? And then immediately cut to the next scene where it's just the montage of like him arresting all the generals and charging them
Uh,
with murder.
yeah,
You know what
such
That's
I
a
the
mean?
best
Like,
part.
cathartic scene.
I was like getting up and cheering when that happened, dude. I love that scene so much. And
And they
like,
make them march out in front of all the reporters. So great.
Yeah,
yeah, and there's two different guys who threaten to kill themselves.
yeah, they're starting to do a Mishima, dude. They really do. They're like, "I'll before this dishonor, I'll kill myself." And he's like, "State your name and occupation."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing about like those old European officers, like the officer corps in like old European armies, up until like even past, the 50s, those guys still were like aristocratic. They still thought in terms of like honor, Like if I
Yeah,
lose a battle, I have to kill myself. Like they thought they were better than, they thought they were nobility essentially. In
it
some
was very
cases they might have
classist.
been.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so it's just kind of so satisfying to watch those guys squirm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and the main squirmer's the main guy, the guy at the very beginning who's doing the targeted campaign against them. And he's talking about the antibodies and everything. The main colonel or whatever he is, he's the one that squirms the most, and he's one of the ones that says he'd kill himself before the dishonor. He's like
Yeah.
flabbergasted, and he's the one that you see. He's the last one, and he's the one that you see the entire proceeding, right? Because the montage happens, and it's like state your name and occupation. They're like, what? And he's just like, the lawyer's like, calm down, it's routine, And he's like, state your name and occupation. What? Calm down, it's routine. And they kind of blow past him until they get to him, and then they do the whole, all right, here's your thing, you're charged with whatever, whatever. So
Yeah. No, I also love that scene where they're interrogating one of the assassins and the guy essentially like he tries to accuse him of being a lefty and the guy gets so defensive that he like admits he's part of a fascist secret society.
Yeah. Oh man, I love that scene. Yeah. He's like, oh,
yeah,
you sound like a commie to me. He's like, no, I am an anti-commie group.
Yeah, he just like
That's
red baits
fantastic.
him into like basically confessing almost.
Hmm.
yeah.
So prints of this film were acquired by the Black Panther Party and shown at underground screenings. Very cool.
Awesome.
At what point, I don't know what his name is. I like the mayor maybe or something, but he calls the leftist necrophiliacs, which I thought was like extreme projection.
Well, he
I don't
calls them
know,
necrophiliacs because they're talking about
because the martyrdom, yeah.
martyrdom. Yeah, he's like they're going to use it to. He's like, we don't want them to die. He's like, they're going to use it to revolt, as a rallying cry. And he's like, damn, these like commie necrophiliacs.
So speaking of like Chile and like other coups, did you guys know so there's another movie that I really want to watch now. I think you could have made this part of the double feature too. It would have been good. There's a movie called Missing. It's from 1982. It's another Costa-Gravas movie. But it stars Jack Lemmon and Sissy Spacek,
Ooh,
and it's based on a book called The Execution of Charles Horman: An American Sacrifice, and it's about the disappearance of American journalist Charles Horman, who, in the aftermath of the Chilean coup in 1973, disappeared. Like he disappeared because he was basically down in Chile, like photographing it or whatever.
Mm.
right. Like he was disappeared.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
The movie's about like Jack Lemmon and Sissy Spacek are looking for him. Uh, I'd never heard about it, but I wanted to see if either of you guys had seen this because I definitely want to watch it.
No, I this is the only Gavras movie I've ever seen, so I got to
Same,
check
yeah,
out his other stuff.
yeah. Missing is definitely something. Yeah, like I mean, I also had like vibes of like 3 Days of the Condor. Like it's about a CIA guy. You know what I mean? Conspiracy.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I thought there's the scene where like they're like forcing hippies to get haircuts or whatever.
Yeah,
Uh,
that stuff's great. Like all the like the weird right wing like kind of little minutia in this movie is so perfect. Like I love at the
yeah,
beginning when the I think he's the general, like the main bad guy that we were talking about before,
yeah,
where he in the beginning he's talking about uh that there are sunspots, like an increase in sunspots, like
mhm,
solar activity is occurring, and he claims it's because of leftism, because like leftism is flaring up in the country. That means the
yeah,
sun is flaring up too, and it's like this weird like kind of I just feel like right wing people think like that sometimes. They have this weird like kind of mystic bullshit, you know,
yeah.
where it's like
Like
just all this like mystic bullshit to kind of justify what they already believe.
it's very like Sebastian Gorka, like like mythical imagery and shit. Because his two big metaphors are mildew and sunspots, and that's what he
Yeah,
says
yeah.
leftism is. And it's like, all right, man, whatever.
Yeah, where it's like
Yeah, and
some kind
then
of encroaching kind of like parasite that's trying to put a blemish on the beautiful empire that they have or kingdom,
Yeah.
whatever.
yeah, and all the I mean everyone's suffering. It seems like even like the right wingers are suffering in the movie, and then the movie definitely paints the left wing party as the more reasonable, right? There's obviously a message to this movie, but like they're more reasonable and they're very much like um pretty subdued, and like the most violent outburst is we should revolt maybe, and
Right.
they don't use any because like the right wingers, I think if you were to probably compare like the speaking time in the movies, the right wingers probably speak more just because of the colonel and everybody else. But like they use a lot of like I don't know, like very like you said, kind of mythological, supernatural, heady language, whereas most of the left wingers have a very grounded kind of like we're trying to because like the whole thing is like he gets assassinated when he's just like speaking his ideals, and it's kind of like, oh, we have a loudspeaker, and then these like violent crowds. And he even says like in the movie, he's like, our like words, like our thoughts produce this kind of violence because like violent reaction to it, right? They can't even
Yeah.
stand like us being able to like speak our thoughts.
Yeah, like they follow all of the rules that the right wing military and the police set for them, and it's still not enough. It's the one of the huge messages of the movie is how intolerable that kind of regime is.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but
I
and yeah, a little bit about how the left kind of goes to tolerating them, I guess, maybe. Like there's a line at one point where the guy straight up says like it's the CIA. um but yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
like you said, there's that whole strain of like pacifism that gets called out a lot in the film. That's why I don't want to say like it's a pacifist film or anything because it's like presented, but it's also argued against. And I don't, again, like you said, like I think if anything, the movie argues that pacifism is useless.
Pointless. Yeah, I mean if we're gonna say like the movie or whatever, like it's not even like there's not even like an explicit condemnation of pacifism. It's just like in the end credits. It's not even like shown on film. It's the end credits kind of say, essentially like you can kind of like deduce from the stories of how everyone ended up that pacifism didn't help them in the end. They all got disappeared, as Chase said
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah, the end of the movie is it's this scrolling list of things that were banned by the right-wing regime after the coup. And it's just like this ridiculously long list and it just
Yeah.
has everything. It's like any kind of new dancing,
Yeah, it's
talking about
Ionesco,
politics.
Dostoevsky.
Dostoevsky, new dancing, pop music,
Yeah.
like international film, like all these just weird things.
The stuff you
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, the cool stuff, right?
The cool stuff. Oh, speaking of Dostoevsky, Che, I know you saw there was this like new Norm Macdonald mini documentary, I
Yeah,
guess, that
on
like dropped this
YouTube.
week. Yeah. We both posted it. So that's why I bring it up because like they mentioned in that, like you said, I didn't know either that like he graduated when he was like 16 and like was like a super
14.
smart like
From high school. Yeah, and then he went to college at 16 for math, which is I didn't know that either.
Yeah, no, and like he would, like they said he was like super well versed in Russian literature, but he would pretend to like be like, yeah, I'm reading this new book by Dostoevsky, I don't know, he would like pretend not to know his name when he was like secretly like extremely knowledgeable in Russian literature.
Yeah, because he thought that people wouldn't laugh at the smart guy, but people will laugh at the dumb guy. I think he was obviously right.
No, I
But
100% like
he was a very smart guy though.
as like me and a lot of brunette nines will know, being smart is not attractive. You got to dumb it down a little bit for the other person.
Exactly. I adhere to that principle, which is why Society is one of these two films.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like yeah, like as the dumb guy part of me loves Society, but the smart guy part of me loves Z.
Yeah.
And like I said, I thought
reality.
like. I still think it's crazy that like in 1969 people were like more open to talking about leftism and like
Well, it's European too. Like, yeah, I agree with that, but like also, you can't really divorce the Europeanness of it. Yes,
but I mean the fact that it was so like popular, in this country, like
yeah,
it was just wild to me because like I said, I thought it would be like a obscure film, but no, it was like they played it on prime time like in 1974,
which is insane. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Is like it's cool that like I have to reiterate like my final thoughts. I guess would be like it's really cool that like this movie exists. I like the message. I just didn't like watching it. I was kind of bored, I have to say.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean,
it's definitely one of those movies where you like. It's not very dreamy. Like exactly what's happening the entire time. Like there's no room for kind of.
Yeah, I think it's got I think one of the biggest problems I have with it is it's got the pacing of a more like I don't know, more like ethereal, like spiritual type, like foreign film, right? Because it's it's a foreign film, so it's got that type of pacing, but it also has like the type of story that's like very grounded and it's very clear cut what's happening, which isn't a bad thing. Like I've seen a lot of foreign films that are like grounded that are great, but like for me, I think maybe I don't know, maybe like a Blue or Red or like the Three Colors trilogy. It's got kind of like that pacing, but like the ideas aren't as like heady. It's very straightforward, like I said. So maybe that's why I didn't really gel with it as much as a movie. The concept's incredible, but as a movie, it's
yeah, I get it. I did want to say that in 1969 we get Z, but in current year our political movie that we get is The Big Short and just shit like that. What's that new Netflix one?
Oh God, the big
Don't Look Up.
Don't look up. Yeah. We get don't
Don't
look
look
up.
up at the screen. You know?
You know what's funny? You said that Oliver Stone really liked this movie. It was a big influence or whatever.
Yeah.
That guy, like, it's so funny because like JFK is a great movie. I really like the Oliver Stone movies that I've seen, but like that guy is such a like a liberal, like super liberal guy. I mean, he was like, yeah, I like capitalism. It's like literally he said that in his most recent interview. I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah, he's
Well,
a
that's
boomer too.
yeah. This
yeah,
movie's pretty liberal friendly, I think.
Yeah,
yeah,
William Friedkin also really liked it. Steven Soderbergh. Oliver Stone said it was the movie that it was one of his favorite films that inspired his filmmaking. Paul Greengrass was a big fan. I think we could
nice.
see that. That's obvious. Very documentary. Like, I think the fact that it was so documentary-esque at the time was very groundbreaking, and people like kind of love that.
Yeah,
But yeah, Chase, any last thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great movie. I'd give it 5 stars. It's a popcorn classic. It's just all around great. Definitely go watch it. I know we spoiled the entire movie during this discussion, but technically, since it's history, there can't be spoilers. So I think we're in the clear.
No, yeah, I don't think like I mean it's the idea, you know. Like the ideas are powerful. Whether you know it happens or not, it's kind of irrelevant, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
we really did it I don't think like ruin the spirit of the movie, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of stuff. Like it's a movie that like when you experience it's just very different. Like you could tell me all the stuff that I just told people, but like I still don't think that I would get it unless I watched it. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, there's very like cathartic moments where it's like because it gets very bleak and it ends very bleakly, like we should say. Uh, like it kind of like builds up to this like hopeful crescendo, and then like all of a sudden it's just like oh yeah, and then everything ended terribly, and the
yeah.
worst possible thing happened.
Isn't it like the guy is like running to the widow and he's like, "It's all gonna be okay. Like everything's gonna be
Yeah,
great." And then the widow is like, "Yeah, I don't know about that, man." And then it's just like cut to the end credits where it's the reporter is like reading out all the people get killed, and then the reporter gets killed, so a narrator has to come in.
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Well, he says like he tells the wife like that it's just like he never died or whatever, and she just has like a very longing look. But yeah, I agree. 5 stars. Ebert, I agree. Ebert, 5 stars.
Yeah, I can't believe I
So
used to not like Ebert that much because
he's not some
mostly
good
because of the
reviews.
Phantom Menace, because he loved the Phantom Menace and it perplexed me so much.
I
But
I
agree. Yeah,
I
I
really like
love
him now.
I love Ebert because like for me, like growing up, I always say that like the best critics are people who you can completely 100% disagree with on like a fundamental base level. You're like, that is completely fucking wrong. I hate your opinion. That was like I can understand why you feel that way though. Like, and that's to me is like the mark of a good critic. And Ebert could always, and I've hardly ever like when I read a review of Ebert's like stuff, sometimes I'm like, yeah, I completely agree. And then, but most of the time I'm like, what the fuck is he like? No, this is wrong, you know? But I'm like
Yeah.
reading it and I go, this is completely wrong. But like, I can see why you think that essentially. And that's why I always thought Ebert was such a great critic. Because like, like Leonard Maltin or even Siskel, like if I disagreed with them essentially, I would like read their reviews or like listen to them talk about movies and I'd go, I completely disagree and I have no clue how you got to that conclusion. You
yeah.
know? So that's why I've always liked Ebert.
My favorite critics are the two guys from the Muppet Show who sit up in the balcony, the old guys,
Yeah.
Statler and Waldorf. Yeah, those are my favorite movie critics. All right, so yeah, any last thoughts on this week? Anything, anything in movies that generally you've been thinking about that you want to talk about? Because I just want to say before we leave, there was like it was Orson Welles' birthday last week, and there was like a thread that went viral, and it was like Orson Welles talking shit about people, and he said that he hated Woody Allen physically as a
Yeah.
person, which like I thought was insane.
Dude, I love Orson Welles so much. He's such like a catty bitch with
I know
regards
you
to.
really like that thread too, right? Like that
Oh,
he
I
talks
love
shit
that.
about like Antonioni and stuff.
It was so he's like, oh, dude, the Antonioni and then the Godard one was savage, dude. I was like, oh my god, he's like brilliant director, but he thinks he's an intellectual, and I have to say, I completely disagree.
He's like, I think he's a wonderful filmmaker, but I disagree with him as a thinker. And
Incredible.
yeah,
Yeah, it seemed like Wells just even when he liked something, his like praise was so muted. Like
He hated it. Yeah,
yeah.
even when he liked something, he hated it. It was awesome.
yeah,
I
yeah,
love it.
big
Uh,
respect.
he said,
Yeah.
I
Also, go
or
watch
go
some
ahead.
Wells movies, dude. Like seriously, I know you said you only watched Citizen Kane. You've only seen Citizen Kane. I have to say that that's like one of my I for filmmaking. You can kind of see how it's like. People call it the goat or whatever,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
for me, like I definitely think it's my least favorite. It's not my least favorite Wells movie, but it's one of my least favorite Wells
Well,
movies.
that's why I haven't watched too many of it or too much of his stuff is because I thought Citizen Kane was kind of mid. Like,
Dude, see F is for fake. That I think if you don't like F is for fake, I could not convince you to like another Orson Welles movie.
okay, yeah, I'll check it out.
I would say like Magnificent Ambersons is pretty good. Like
Yeah,
I've heard of that one.
Touch of
Chimes at
Evil.
Midnight.
Touch of Evil and Lady of Shanghai, I would say are like
Dude, Touch of Evil. Like I said, it's my favorite. It's my favorite film
the
noir. So.
the whole like one shot with the bomb or whatever. I mean, that's like brilliant. Like they taught us that in film school, you know.
The Dolly. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's
Incredible.
amazing. Yeah. Also, he said about Henry Kissinger, I hate Kissinger even more than I hate Nixon because I just can't get over the feeling that he knows better. That's like, oh yeah, it's brilliant. Like he was
It's
a brilliant
beautiful.
thinker. Yeah,
He's like
Yeah.
insulting Kissinger and Nixon at the same time.
yeah.
I mean, he's got like weird quotes on like he does like weird cameos and stuff. Like he's in the Muppets movie,
hmm
which I didn't know, and I was like, he plays like the curmudgeon like Hollywood guy in the Muppets movie, which is hilarious if you know like his history
He
with
does
Hollywood.
his last credit was doing a voice in the Transformers movie.
Transformers movie, dude. Yeah, Orson Welles
Fucking
is
Wait.
rocks.
The Michael Bay one?
No,
No.
the 80s.
the animated
Okay,
one.
yeah.
In the 80s there was the anime, the one where spoiler alert, Optimus Prime died.
Yeah, it was great. It's like I love the Starscream guy.
Yeah.
This guy's incredible.
All right, so with that, I guess we'll talk a little bit about next week. We've already announced next week we're doing Firewalk with Me in season 8 of the return of Twin Peaks. We just want to talk about David Lynch. Chase will be back, right? I believe.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like Chase is someone who I know is good at like talking about David Lynch. I'm like I told Matt, like for me, like so much of David Lynch is in the subconscious. Like I don't know how to talk about that stuff sometimes. But I know you're very good at like, breaking down the people who break down Lynch. That's something I want to talk about. Definitely all of the explainer videos. That's like a cottage industry now.
Well, he's like the most talked about director, maybe most talked about artist on like Twitter. I mean, he has his own like topic on Twitter. I mean, there's just incessant videos coming out every day about David Lynch and trying to explain his style, and they're all totally wrong, and nobody knows what they're talking about. I'm not saying I do, but I can prove that they're wrong.
Okay.
So, but you'll have to wait until next week.
Yeah, I'm stoked, dude. I'm really excited. Matt?
Yes.
I know you love David Lynch. You've been rewatching Twin Peaks.
Oh yeah, I've been rewatching all of Twin Peaks. That's what we said. It's a we're ostensibly because it's MovieFlex double features. It's ostensibly a double feature with Firewalk with Me and then episode 8 of The Return. But we're going to basically be talking about the entirety of like Twin Peaks as a whole, and like you said, kind of breaking down a little bit of David Lynch as like just the filmmaker in general. So yeah, I'm super stoked to talk to both of you fellows because I on the rewatch I didn't really have a big I didn't really have a big thought, of what this was about. I just kind of vibed with it for the first time, and then this rewatch I kind of thought more about it, and I've been thinking about it. So
Yeah, I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say.
All right. Well, with that said, thanks everyone for joining us. Play us out. Play that music out. I'm gonna play something cool here. Play some music.
Oh, nice.